Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Biz Story. This is the podcast where we explore business in Northeast Ohio in a way that you're hopefully going to learn things that you wouldn't pick up on just walking into the business and seeing what's going on. So we're going to talk a little bit about what is the business, how it got started, and what are the challenges that businesses face. Our guest today is Mary Jo Miller. She is the owner of Bella Donna Salon and Spa in Painesville, Ohio. So a little bit of background information on Mary Jo. So bear with me while I read through this epistle here. Mary Jo is board member and past president of the Downtown Painesville organization. She is a board member and past president of the Lake County Chamber of Commerce. She's a former board member for the Eastern Lake County Chamber of Commerce. She was named the Citizen of the Year and Business of the Year when the Eastern Lake County Chamber of Commerce was the Painesville Area Chamber of Commerce. She's a former board member of the Western Reserve Junior Service League. She's a board member at Auburn Career Center's Cosmetology Department. And she's a board member of the Painesville Arts Council. And she is the City of Painesville's 2024 winner of the John F. Clare Award as Business of the Year. Mary Jo and her husband, Bert, have been married for, do you want to say it?
42 years.
Okay. And this is kind of interesting. Mary Jo is from, I hope I pronounced it right,
Tamaqua, Pennsylvania.
Tamaqua, Pennsylvania. So I did a little checking because I'd never heard of Tamaqua. So here's what I found. It's located at the foothills of the Pocono Mountains, which used to be a real hot spot. I don't know if it still is.
It still is.
Is it?
For skiers, yes.
Okay.
And actually for a lot of people who work in New York City.
Oh, okay.
It's not that far into New York, and New Yorkers are, willing to drive.
Sure.
So a lot of them live in the Pocono Mountains.
Okay. Tamaqua. In 1817, Burkhart Mosier and his son discovered anthracite coal there. And that was the start of making Tamaqua a coal mining town.
It certainly was.
And you probably know this, but the Harmony Lodge of the Goodfellows has a cemetery there.
I did not know
You didn't know that?
I did not.
I found something you didn't know?
I did not.
Okay, yeah, I thought
And
that's got to be worth a visit to Tamaqua.
well, it's actually has been the end of the garment district for New York City for lots of years, and there were a lot of factories there, a lot of exciting things. The Tuscaroras Indians lived there, housed themselves there, until they moved up to the Great Lakes.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Yeah. So, not Great Lakes, I'm sorry, the Finger Lakes.
Okay.
Where they ended up. So, there's a lot of history there. As a kid, you could find arrowheads and all kinds of things from the Indians. It was a great place to grow up because, as I mentioned, it's very close to New York. It was close to Philadelphia. Lots of culture, but a small town.
Okay.
It was a great place to grow up.
Great.
Yeah.
So tell us about Bella Donna Salon and Spa.
So,
what do you do there?
Well, when I started off, this is the business part of this, it was not great for females still to be able to get loans. So I had a client who was a banker, a female also, by the way, and she verified for me that I was going to be able to pay my loan. So that's how Bella Donna started on Main Street. Actually, I was renting first, and then when I purchased a few years later, that's how I got my loan. I started off with 4 chairs, and 4 employees, and I now have 30. Wow. So it's been quite a journey, and it's a lot of risk. I've always been kind of a half full person. Mm-hmm. So I've always looked at, the big picture instead of the scary small one. And that's how I was able to, keep adding on. And then I bought the building next door. That was an unfortunate circumstance for them, but a good one for me. The Browns, one of the brothers passed away, and they wanted to sell the business and close the business, actually. And then that's how I purchased the building next door, opened up the walls, made it larger, and now I went from 900 square feet to 5,000 square feet.
Oh, wow.
So,
so did you actually start Bella Donna?
In that location,
Okay.
at the 150 Main Street.
Okay.
And now it's 150 and 152 Main Street.
Okay.
But it was slow. I first was on the bottom level of 150, then went to the second floor, which, by the way, was not ever done locally. That was kind of a New York thing. The basements, the upstairs, that's a thing in the city because they don't have that much space. So I then went upstairs, and then after that went, and I had changed the configurations of that many times before I bought the building next door. Okay. Then I took the work area, which was 4 stations, and made it 14 at the 152 Main Street.
Wow.
And then took the nail area that was upstairs at 150 and brought that over to the upstairs of 152, and then made that a full spa up there, which is what we have right now.
Okay.
So
you had mentioned that you went to get the loan, and it was difficult for women to get loans at
absolutely.
At that point.
It was not a thing. In fact, when I went on Main Street, I was the first female to be on any of the boards downtown, because the Painesville City Improvement Corporation asked me to be on the board, and I was their first female on the board. So, I mean, it sounds like nobody right now realizes how difficult it was for females then to get loans or even be included in the conversation anywhere. And at first, nobody listened to me because they weren't used to a female being on boards.
Yeah.
And but little by little things changed to where it is right now, and it's kind of a little role reversal where there are almost more females than there are males.
Yeah.
So things have changed.
So the woman that you knew that worked at the bank, did she have anything to do with you getting your loan?
Everything, because she was a loan officer. And when she first submitted the paperwork, they were like, no, that's not going to happen. And she literally had to verify on her own, which was a big risk for her too, that I would not default on the loan. And I mean, she was right, because I would never do that.
Right.
And again, I'm kind of a type A, which is, stop laughing. He knows me, because that is so true.
If you were to look up type A in the dictionary, you would see a picture of Mary Jo, okay? It's
kind of just, I mean, the family that I grew up in, that's just the way it was. I mean, you worked. Everybody worked. You worked when you were a kid.
Came from a coal mining town.
Yes, you just worked.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't what we did. However, and none of my family did either. But, we just had this conversation actually at work recently about everybody thought that they didn't have money then. Well, nobody had money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you grew up that way. Nobody had money. You were either a worker, a blue collar worker, or you were a doctor or an attorney, or you owned a factory like I talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And so you didn't think anything of it. That's just the way you grew up, in a house that had one bathroom, no matter how many kids you had. And it was a great way to work, to grow up, I thought.
Yeah.
It was,
yeah.
but, there was no who has better sneakers, who has better designer clothes.
Yeah.
There wasn't any of that. And it's just, you had clothes to wear, everybody wore the same thing. And if you came from a big family, which I did not because I was an only child, but which is another oddness.
Yeah.
Because everybody says, oh, that's the reason you're that way, because you were an only child and you were spoiled. No, I wasn't. But anyway, everybody wore the same kind of clothes. It
Yeah.
was not a bad way to grow up.
Yeah.
We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have, we didn't have 14 TVs or a TV in every room. Everybody watched things together as a family. The family unit
That was the center of everything.
it was. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
so you and Dolly Parton could share some pretty good stories, huh?
The coat of many colors, maybe, because families did share clothes and all of that when I was growing up. Therefore, you became a worker. I mean, it wasn't a bad way to grow up, I don't think, but getting back to the business part of it, I think that's what helped me become the business person that I am. I mean, I worked from the time I was 16. When you were able to work then,
Mm-hmm.
they weren't hiring people at 14 then, but at 16. And I just, was a worker. And in order to have a business, you need to have that be part of your DNA, because I have seen many businesses open and close because they think that they can open their doors at 9 and close them at 5, and when you go home,
It's done.
It's done. But it is
No, it's
not.
not.
It is not, because part of your work ethic comes from, and your business world comes from being a volunteer, which I don't volunteer because it helps my business. I volunteer because it's a mission of mine. I think when you have a business, you need to pay back.
Absolutely.
And-
there's a lot of business owners that feel that way.
Yeah, but that is what it takes to be. You don't shut off at 5:00.
Right.
You have a risk with your family if they are not part of that
Mm-hmm.
mission, which in my case, my husband, my daughter, who is now a prosecutor, she learned helping at the business, working at the business, spending her summers at the business.
How to treat customers at the business.
Yes, just how to talk to others. I mean, you have to be respectful of how you treat others to make your business work, because you can't not greet clients. You can't, I mean, you shouldn't, nor should you want to treat people differently than you would want yourself treated. So there's lots of things that are wrapped in the business that are necessary and should be second nature, but the businesses that don't work don't have those pieces in place,
Gotcha.
aren't willing to make those sacrifices, so to speak, to make their business work. And it really isn't a sacrifice if you love it. And that's the other thing. You really have to like
what you're
what
doing.
you do, and really like being around people, because it's a challenge, and that challenge has gotten stronger since post-COVID, because people are
Short-tempered?
They have a lot of angst that I think they didn't deal with during that time frame.
Okay.
Because it was, I'll use myself. I was on vacation to a little place in Siesta Keys, and I found out that we were going to be shut down within a day.
So you were out
I was
out
on vacation when we found out.
and found out you had to shut the business down.
And so and we had just gotten there, get flights or rent a car and get back. And I was able to do that. And within hours of that happening, we heard that we had to shut down. So consequently, instead of weeks, I was shut down for 3 months. And that was way more challenging than I ever expected it to be. However, the 2008 recession was as close to, coming to shutting down that I'd ever come. And I learned a lot of lessons from that business-wise. I'd even count paper, making sure that I wasn't advertising too much, but you needed to do that to be able to get people in. But getting back to post-COVID and the angst that people had, we started seeing a change in people's demeanor. I really attribute it to the undealt with anxiety that people had. There were kids that one of our granddaughters, out of town, she was very anxious and had a hard time going back to school. People had a hard time going back to work.
Now, how old is she?
She's in college now, but she was 16. Our own granddaughter, our oldest, her senior year was like mush. It was terrible.
Yeah.
So people had anxiety from work, and the way people treat people now, I personally think, is from that.
Yeah.
And how they can't deal with things themselves. And then they treat people differently because they're anxious on their own. But I mean, there's lots of things that you deal with in business. That is one of them, certainly, that we have to deal with. Clients who are not happy with something, a service that they got.
The customer complaint issue.
Yes, right. That's a big part of what you have to deal with. And how you have to deal with that is you can't ever be angry back.
Right.
You can't ever, no matter how you feel, you can't, even when I'll use an example of somebody sending pictures of work that was with a different hair color and cut than they were trying to say was done on them. But we happened to have the picture of what they had done, so that didn't go anywhere. But refuting credit card charges, that is unbelievable. Having distributors charge you the wrong amount. My day starts way before I ever go to work, because I am looking at the charges on my card. Are they accurate? Did somebody overcharge me? Am I getting sent the right things? All of that even starts rolling before I ever walk out the door. Checking all my emails. So you can say, oh, my day is starting at 9, but in actuality,
it started long before
that.
Yeah.
And then it continues way after work. So there's lots of things that go into handling a business, and you have to be thick-skinned and more patient than you ever thought you could be to be a business owner.
So how did you get into cosmetology?
Actually, it's odd. to say the least. I was supposed to go to college and go to medical school, actually.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't leave family,
Okay.
particularly my mom. And so my mom said, you know, I've always wanted to go to cosmetology school, so why don't we do it together?
So you and your mom went to cosmetology school.
And my mom was 40.
How was that to see your mom in an educational environment?
She was very excited to start. She, this is way deep. She was the first of 11 children of Italian immigrants and a girl. And the girl always, when they're 14, are responsible for helping out with the family.
Mm-hmm.
So she had to quit school and go into a factory, one of the factories I told you about.
Yeah.
And at the time, they were making things for the war.
Yeah.
So she wasn't Rosie the Riveter, but she did do that. And so consequently, she helped to raise all of the other children. She was the oldest girl, not the oldest boy. All the boys went to college, all the girls worked. And so she continued working throughout her life. And that was something that she had always thought about.
Mm-hmm.
And then she, had me, and we, when I decided not to go to college, that is what she was doing. And she said, come on, let's do it. And we did it together. So it was exciting for me to see her do something because, again, looking at the role of a female then versus mine at my age at 18. And she was never angry because that's the
way it
role
was.
they had.
Yeah.
Right, that's what they did. And so generationally, I mean, my grandparents came over from Italy. That her generation changed everything because the boys went to college. The girls got some kind of career and worked. And then mine, I went to college later. And then I got my associates at Lakeland. And then my daughter went, and she's now a prosecutor. So, it's interesting to watch those changes and the evolution of the immigrant versus, those of us that have been here for longer. So that's how I ended up going.
As you know, I'm a scuba instructor, and I've always enjoyed watching parents and kids in the same class.
Mm-hmm.
And I always kind of was watching because I thought it was good for the kids to see their parents sitting at the desk in classroom and seeing that on both sides, parents seeing how difficult it can be or be reminded how difficult it would be being in the classroom, and for kids to see their parents in the classroom realizing how important education and learning new things can be. Mm-hmm. And I just wondered if you observed any of that.
Well, I watched her being very excited about doing it because it really was something that she had thought about and finally became a dream of hers coming true. So, and she loved it. She, opened her own salon and, it stayed the same size, not the gargantuan thing that I have done, but, and she did that until she retired and moved up here with my husband and I.
Okay.
So she loved it.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you do too.
I do.
Do you?
I enjoy my my community involvement as well.
Well, that's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah.
going through, looking over your bio.
Right. Well, I mean, it's like I said, it's part of what I think when you have a business that you, even if you don't like it, you should do it and become more involved in your community as payback to the community for supporting your
Supported
business.
you. Exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
What do you see as far as challenges coming up?
Well, there's lots in just in business in general. Everything, again, I keep going back to COVID shutdown, but everything has at least doubled in price.
Mm-hmm.
So in my industry, there's a lot of small businesses that are not able to withstand the climate. And it actually, I'll use nail things as a for instance, because a lot of our files and those kinds of things come from China. And I've tried desperately to not do that, and I do where I can. And that doubled immediately during the COVID shutdown.
Wow.
And now it's triple.
Wow.
So that, I think, the financial portion of the business is the biggest challenge for the businesses right now. And, you know, there's a little bit at the moment that's a little bit more, but I think that's going to be continuing throughout. So I think that's the biggest challenge that most businesses will face is how do you balance your supplies that you need, and every business needs them. Your technical part, your the supplies that you use, what houses you, and that all has increased tremendously. And I really feel that it's our biggest challenge of all.
I always joke with my wife when we're at the grocery store that, you know, we're going to have to go out and get part-time jobs in order to
Right.
pay for the groceries. But that kind of I can kind of see where that comes into play. Your supplies are going up in price, and then everybody who's working has to go to the grocery store, pay the mortgage, buy gasoline to get to work, all those increased costs, and they're looking to try to offset that by making more money. So they want more money from you. So now you've got supply costs going up, and you've got wage costs going up.
And there's only so much that you can pass on, to the customer. So that is truly, I think, the biggest challenge that everybody is going to face and is facing right now, because I can't say to you, all right, so my supplies have doubled, so therefore what you're paying for is going to double as well. It's not possible. So then you have to figure out, what can I cut in my business that can offset the increase in everything that I'm using, because what I'm charging you isn't going to increase doubly.
Right.
It can't. So therefore, how do I make up the difference between the charges, what I'm charging, and what I can save in the middle?
Yeah.
And there's only so much of that you can do, you know, because you have to, in my case, I have to make sure that our client base is taken care of. They can book online, they can book on a little app, they can book on our website. But in the end, how you're greeted when you come in, and as you know, and as you're greeted as you're going out, those are the two most important things to a client. in our business and in most businesses, because you don't want somebody to be rude if you're in a restaurant. You're
Right.
not going to go back. Even if
Right.
the food is good, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't, if the wait staff or the owner was rude, I would never be going back in there.
Right.
So that's a really important thing and extremely expensive from a business standpoint, to make sure that the customer service is where that needs
Right up,
to be.
elevated to
Right.
the best it can
Yes,
possibly be.
Mr. Szabo, it's great to see you today. I am so happy that you're here, and thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
It's really important. So that I feel that's the biggest challenge we've got.
I don't know if you have any sense or if you have the numbers on this, but how long have your customers been with you
Oh, I know.
on the average?
I know all of that. We have a program, also very expensive, but it tells me, in fact, I just had a big staff meeting, and client retention rates, they need to be at a specific level for all of the service staff, me included, for retention. We had 1,000 new clients that came in last year.
Wow.
And I mean, that's a lot.
That's good.
It's, well, because, and it's, for us, it's a little different because your sister comes into town, your niece coming to an event, and they want to get a pedicure or a manicure, and we're never going to see them again.
Right.
We know they're not, because it's, but that's still in that number of retention. So,
But that's your existing customer bringing that person to you.
or Google My Business. I spend a lot on Google My Business
Really?
to be able to, that's where we really draw, beside referrals, because you depend on referrals. You want referrals. You want
Yes.
not just one person in your family. You want the whole family,
Yeah.
if possible. But beside that, then what you need to do is draw. I'm Italian, and I'm talking with my hands. You need to draw.
So don't look over there.
So don't. Sorry. So you need to draw from somewhere, and for us, it is Google My Business.
Okay.
And so we spend time and energy, putting images and content on Google My Business to
Okay.
be able to draw in that new client. And again, that could be that person that's, let's just say I'm Googling where I can go in Painesville to get my nails done. Or where can I go? I am staying at the B&B for my wedding, and I would like my wedding party to be able to go into a salon, which that's worked for us. And it's, that's how you get that person, but they are part of the overall number of clients that you get. So then your retention between the existing clients and the retention of the new clients is way lower than you think that it should be. But it's because of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is a very interesting question. And yes, I know exactly. I know each staff member. I know what their retention is. I know what the overall retention is. I know what the number of clients. It's something that I watch all the time.
And all right, we're going to kind of bring this down and bring it to a close. I want to thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
I've known you for quite a while. And
We've been on the chamber board together.
Yes, we have. And this was nice because I got to learn more about you, and
Wow.
it's all good stuff. So, folks out there, I'd like you to go to belladonnaspa.com and check out Mary Jo's business. They're located at 150 Main Street in Painesville, Ohio. Their phone number is 440-352-2480. And I want to invite you to go down, walk in, and support Mary Jo.
We'd love to have you.
Okay? She works hard at her business, and go on in, say hello, and if you see Mary Jo, walk up and shake her hand. If you're interested in learning about more episodes here at Your Biz Story, I encourage you to go to my website, tom-szabo.com/podcast, and you can see some of the previous podcasts. We're also available on many, not all, I assume, but many of the streaming channels, Spotify, Pandora, Apple, and those type. So a lot of credit today to Mary Jo Miller at belladonnaspa.com, and also the Madison Public Library here in lovely Madison, Ohio. And check them out at madisonlibrary.info, not .com or .net, but .info. Check them out and support your local library and support your local business. Buy local, shop small, and buy local. Alrighty? Thank you much. Look forward
Bye.
to seeing you again on our next episode.